Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Ironically, as fate would have it, one of the people who's going to suffer perhaps from the lack of cancer screening is Obama himself. Take a look at The Globe. Headline story, Obama lung cancer drama. And we're told here that Obama is now suffering from coughing fits, dizzy spells, chest pains, loss of appetite, but continues to smoke up a storm. We had that already in The Globe last week, that he was freaking out over his unpopularity and the attacks and other related issues. The guy's been smoking Marlboros for 30 years. Insider source says a lot of us are worried about Obama. He's losing weight, barely eats. You can tell something is terribly wrong just by looking at him. The gaunt commander-in-chief left the gymnasium in Washington, D.C., looking so skinny that his jacket seemed to be several sizes too large. President Obama is way too thin, says weight loss expert Dr. Edward Jakowski. His face, neck, and entire body look drawn, stressed, and weak. Obama's 6'1". When he got into office, he was weighing 180 pounds. Now he's down to 155. A published report disclosed that he recently collapsed, slumping to his desk in exhaustion. We also have the fear of lung cancer, which is haunting Michelle. Because of his smoking and coughing, he can't keep his food down. At the last White House banquet, he left the room suddenly and vomited. He claims that he doesn't smoke in the White House, but as soon as Michelle is not there, he lights up a Marlboro. So apparently, according to this, he's only willing to go to his once-a-year Walter Reed or Bethesda Naval Center checkup. He has cancer in the family. His mother died of ovarian cancer, and one of his grandfathers died of prostate cancer. So this is the time for lots of tests. So this is a time when ORSAG could be the main threat to Obama, as well as all sorts of other people. Now, quickly going through on that trip to Asia, the interesting economy is that of South Korea, the ROK. ROK is moving fast now to become one of the main nuclear plant providers in the world. The offers being given by the Republic of Korea, South Korea nuclear industry for various contracts being led around the world. They're successfully competing with the French team of Areva, that is the Framatome, and they're competing also with the Japanese U.S. teams, and they're doing so on a cost-effective basis. One of the big plums right now is $40 billion of nuclear plants in the United Arab Emirates. Again, the British building 10 large modern nuclear reactors. The United States is dying. The United States is moribund. The United States is a wreck, a shattered hulk, adrift on the waters of monetarism and bankruptcy of zombie banks and all the cronies of Geithner and Summers and so forth. So in terms of economic policy, President Hu of China is right to want fixed parities. Don't beat up on Hu because he wants to have a fixed relationship between the dollar and the renminbi, the Chinese currency. That's fine. But President Hu, don't give us lectures about free trade. Protectionism is the solution. We would need in this country, as I have in my 5-point program, at least a 10% protective tariff. That would be a rather modest protective tariff to begin with. I would point President Hu to the folly of keeping $1 trillion plus in treasury bills when you've got a developing country with lots of poverty, backwardness, need for infrastructure in central China. And the way to get rid of those is not to regard them as a financial asset, but to use them to buy things. You can buy things all over the world with dollars, but in particular, you ought to buy things here in the United States. Buy 1,000 modern hospitals for interior of China. Buy infrastructure that the U.S. can do. You still do have these places like Foster Wheeler, Bechtel, Fluor, and so forth, Parsons Engineering. They can build things. Get them in there and let them build. In terms of programmatic developments, other than the worldwide victory of nuclear, which is simply there, Montgomery County, north of Washington, D.C., the corridor city's development seems to be going in favor of light rail rather than the wretched, inadequate solution of simply buses. On other programmatic points, the Tobin tax is big on CNBC. Today, November 20th, we had a discussion on CNBC about a global Tobin tax. Let me warn everybody, the global Tobin tax is not what we want. We want a U.S. Tobin tax so the money goes to the U.S. Treasury and to the U.S. states that are hurting. Here's a list of states that need help. We've got about 10 states that are now approaching insolvency, some big ones. California, Arizona, Rhode Island, Michigan, Oregon, Nevada, Florida, New Jersey, Illinois, Wisconsin. They need the income from a Tobin tax. We don't want to send that to the IMF, the World Bank, the Bank for International Settlements, so they can use that for more bailouts of countries when the Africans have defaulted on their loans and so forth, and the banks want to get paid. Forget that. The Tobin tax is a U.S. measure of nationalist, protectionist, dirigist, and mercantilist, and indeed Hamiltonian economics. So we want that. The poor lady Ann Lee of NYU getting beat up by a bunch of CNBC reactionaries. One of the interesting things is these characters have been telling us buy and hold, buy and hold, buy and hold. Well, if you buy and hold, you won't pay any Tobin tax. The point is, the people who are going to pay the Tobin tax are the people who do high-frequency trading, flash trading, program trading in all of its transmogrifications. Those are the people who are going to pay through the nose on the Tobin tax, and they should. Ann Lee should have said, speculation is an evil. Speculation destroys societies. Whole civilizations have been destroyed by financial parasitism and speculation. Another interesting point. It's now been revealed that the Small Business Administration under Obama doesn't make loans to small business. It should. God knows it's small enough. It's underfunded enough. Under Obama, the Small Business Administration makes preferential loans to Fortune 500 companies. What is that? That's typical. So what you have under Obama is a $24 trillion bailout that creates new asset bubbles. All the money goes to banks, hedge funds, insurance companies, credit card companies, and all the rest. And the entire productive sector is being starved. This will not last. This will not be possible. So what we need, again, is to seize the Federal Reserve. After all of this Sturm und Drang and hue and cry about the Fed, the result is don't abolish it. If you abolish it, you put that all the power back into the hands of Jamie Dimon, Pandit the Bandit, Blankfein, and the rest of them. What you want to do is nationalize the Fed so you can use that to issue 0% credit for production only, not for stock jobbing, speculation, hedge funds, carry trade, all kinds of speculative swindles. No, we've had more than enough of that. You've got to redirect the economy out of purely financial instruments and back into production. In other words, we need to think about less about finance and more about economics. And above all, where's our heavy industry? That's the power shift that people are noting in Obama's trip to Asia, is that China, Japan, and South Korea are industrial powers. They have maintained a full-set economy. They have heavy industry. They have large-scale commodity manufacturing production, tangible physical wealth. They have not built their house with derivatives, speculation, hedge funds, index funds, and all the rest of this stuff. This is why the U.S. is getting weaker and weaker. And if you don't want to start learning Chinese or Japanese or Korean or whatever it is, you have got to have large-scale industrial production, infrastructure, agriculture, real commodity production. And that is the direction of my program. And that is why you've got to nationalize the Fed and force them to put out 0% credit, not for banks, but for industry, farms, local businesses. As long as there's a physical product involved, 0%. And that goes down to a restaurant, a dry cleaner, a taxi company, a ferry, an airline, you name it. And we'll be back next week. Happy Thanksgiving to all.